Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Brian Burke of Praxis Capital and Mark Hahn of Pacific Private Money. And when we cut to the second commercial break, we asked this trivia question. Name the 1980s film in which you might hear the phrase, "Who you gonna call?" Okay, Brian, you know that answer.
Oh yeah, it's Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters,
yeah.
That is correct. You didn't even need the Stay Puft Marshmallow.
No, it's just, just completing the song, right?
That's right, exactly. Okay, we are going to get right into email time. And we still have Tom McGraw, CEO of First National Bank of Northern California, in the studio with us. Mark, we received this email. Do you ever make loans where the interest is deferred until the end of the loan period? And for our listeners, tell us about your company so that they know.
For our new listeners out there, thank you for listening. My company is Pacific Private Money. We can be found at pacificprivatemoney.com. We make privately funded loans for real estate investors. So for those of you out there who've tried to go to the bank and get a real estate loan for buying bank-owned or short sale property and found them less than willing or able to approve your loan, you would come to a private money lender like Pacific and apply for a loan through us. We do about 15 to 20 loans per month. We're going gangbusters, as are most private lenders in the Bay Area right now. We're awfully busy because we're kind of taking up the slack that's been left by the banks who have been focusing primarily on home loans now and not so much on these investor loans to real estate investors who want to take advantage and buy rental property. So the question was, can you defer your interest? And in fact, the answer is yes, of course. One of the great things about going to a private money lender and putting together a private money loan is that we've got massive flexibility. I mean, there's just so many ways that we can make a loan, and one of them is, let's say you're buying a property to fix and flip, and so you come to us for a 65% loan, which is our maximum loan to value that we lend on. And but you want to fix and flip this, and you think it's going to take you maybe 4 to 6 months to flip it, and you don't want to worry about having to pay the interest payments every month. We can build those interest payments into the loan. So, for example, it would just be deducted from the loan proceeds. So, if you were,
a lot of conventional banks generally can't make that kind of loan.
That's true. Another example is we've had people who have property on the market and they're not living in it, because we don't make owner-occupied home loans, but if they're not living in the property and they have it for sale and they need time to sell it, maybe they're a little behind on their mortgage payments or whatever the situation is, we can make a loan on that property and build in an interest reserve so that they don't have to sell it at a discount or on a forced sale to give themselves time, maybe 6 months, maybe 12 months. Sometimes we see property come on, some rather expensive property that people have speculated on. We've had loan applications in areas like Tiburon or in the Napa Valley, or small wineries where they're trying to sell it and they've kind of run out of cash, and so they need a loan to help them, give them time. Maybe, in fact, we did a loan not too long ago that they asked for 24 months of interest reserve so that they wouldn't have to worry about making payments while they had this property on the market to sell. Now,
which is a great idea, because rather than trying to fire sale the property at such a low fire sale price, they can end up paying you a little bit higher interest than a conventional bank with maybe some points. It's still cheaper than discounting the property hundreds and hundreds of thousands.
Well, that's exactly it. And you're not guaranteed. You do get some of that back. So let's say we do a loan and we build in a 12-month interest reserve. We will usually, in the loan documents, you typically agree to pay at least a certain minimum, and it might be 6 months. You may guarantee the investor of that loan 6 months minimum interest, and if you sell it in month 9, if you've prepaid 12 months interest, you would get you would get credit for those 3 months. So it's not like in other words, it's really flexible. So that's a great tool, and it's pretty popular.
Okay, so Mark, you do.
Just sort of a dumb question, but they're still paying principal, aren't they? They're making monthly principal payments?
No. We do interest-only loans,
okay.
in at least my company, and most of the private lenders that I know who are legitimate lenders in the Bay Area. Most of us make loans where it's $100,000 in, and when it's paid back, it's $100,000 back, and you make interest payments.
And it helps the cash flow.
Great.
Absolutely.
And the equity has to be there to cover the principal and the interest reserve that you built in. So it's all based on the equity that's there.
And we've got another email here, and this one is right up your alley, Brian. What is going on with the number of REOs on the market, going up, going down, and maybe explain what REOs are.
Yeah, REOs are the bank-owned properties. When the bank forecloses, they sell the property at public auction, and at the public auction, a bidder such as Praxis Capital or one of the other bidders out there might bid on it, but if nobody bids on it, then the bank will enter in a bid and they become the winning bidder of that property, and now that they own it, it becomes an REO. It's a banking industry term that years ago was never really heard that much, and it stood for real estate owned. Now you see it on the news, and it's almost a common term nowadays, kind of like an IRA and an REO, and everybody kind of knows what all these things are.
It used to be Oreo cookies, now it's REO real estate.
Yeah, now it's REO real estate.
ASAP.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'm seeing now is there's a lot less REOs on the market than there was 6 months ago or a year ago, and it seemed about the fourth quarter of last year when all the robo-signing scandals came about. The banks put a lot of their foreclosures on slow track or on hold completely while they reviewed their internal paperwork processes and made sure they were doing everything correctly. It resulted in a vast reduction of the number of houses going to auction at county courthouses on a daily basis. And I saw an interesting article, actually, it's funny you asked this question, because Bloomberg just reported that short sales, which is when a bank agrees to take less than the money owed on the loan in a transaction between the homeowner and a buyer. Short sales jumped 19% in the second quarter from the prior quarter. Some people are saying this means that the banks are getting better at approving short sales, but what I'm thinking is I think it has more to do with fewer REOs being on the market, which is forcing buyers to consider short sales that previously they wouldn't have considered. The short sale process can be long.
It can be very long.
You can get right down to the end, and then it doesn't go through, and you're planning to move, and you're getting everything ready to move into your new house, and the bank doesn't approve the short sale. So people were just not really paying attention to short sales. And I think now they're being forced to because there's fewer REOs.
Well, I want to ask Tom that question. What do you think? Because with going through the process of short sale, what do you find at your bank?
Well, fortunately, we haven't been in that situation, so I can't really directly respond to it. But it's interesting, Brian, because you bring this up, and a few friends that have been in that situation who've asked me, what should I do? And I've said, well, whatever you do, if you get involved in a short sale, make sure that there's no deficiency agreement with the institution, so that that you're on the hook for the balance of what the actual value of the property is. So if it's worth $750, you sell it for $500, that you're not on the hook for that extra $250.
Yeah, and some banks were making you sign a note for that $250 to make sure that they got it back, and that's a bad deal for them for sure.
On purchase money? Residential?
Yeah, they're trying to slip it in because they know it's non-recourse.
Yeah, it's non-recourse, yeah.
Yeah, they put a deficiency judgment in there, and that says that you're responsible for the amount that's discounted.
Bad bank, bad bank.
Bad. Guys, Brian, I think I agree with you on I think short sales have become more popular because you've got a lot of real estate investors out there, and they've all been waiting for this second wave. In fact, we've been waiting for over a year for the so-called tsunami of shadow inventory. And interesting, another article this week, which comes from Bank of America Merrill Lynch, that's predicting, their analysts are predicting that REO sales aren't going to peak until 2013. So, which is, if you're a real estate investor and you are, looking at, buying, fixing, and flipping, and maybe you're actively buying, fixing, and flipping, for the real estate investors in our listening audience, that's actually not a bad thing because, many of guys that we lend to have, kind of wondered, they ask me, how long is this going to last? And often many of them are kind of feeling a sense of urgency to, make money while the sun's shining. But
I think there is a bit of a sense of urgency in the respect that pricing has really only one direction it can reasonably go, and houses right now are being sold for about 50% or even less than it costs to build those houses.
The thing that I think is interesting with all that is how rents have gone up on apartments, condos, whatever. And so you look at some point it's just going to make sense again to buy a house. Hey guys, we're going to have to cut to our third and final commercial break. Stay in the studio with us, Tom. We want to get into a few more things with you. And here is, and by the way, For our listening audience, go on to our Facebook page, bestofinvesting.com, or actually I guess just Best of Investing Facebook page, and click on like, and we're going to enter you into another contest. So in case you missed the trivia questions, we'll go ahead and give you a 3-day, 2-night stay. We're going to randomly pick 3 people who go ahead and click on the like page on the Facebook. And here is the final question. Marty McFly and Dr. Emmett Brown were 2 characters from this 1985 film. Name the film. The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouseforfun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. Marty McFly and Dr. Emmett Brown were 2 characters from this 1985 film. Name the film. Again, call 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name, address, email address, and phone number, and we will be right back.